We got Green Bay Packers versus Indianapolis Colts. Look, Colts, they beat the Titans Thursday, so they kind of get the mini bye. They've had some extra time to prepare. The Packers won in unconvincing fashion. We talked about the weather. We talked about Jacksonville's special teams just being uncharacteristically awesome in that game. Green Bay, we've been talking about this all season, man. They're up and down. A little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team, but these are two very good teams playing.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. Just to lead off, and I'll let you go, Brad. Indianapolis, their defense, along with Miami, who we talked about earlier, people don't really like to talk about how strong defenses are. The strength of this Colts defense is stopping the run. The Packers, I know they have Aaron Rodgers, but they want to establish the run. I don't think the Packers are going to have success running the ball this week. Now, I have Aaron Jones in my primary fantasy league. I hope they do. I don't think they're going to. So it's Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams versus the rest of the Colts defense, and that's the matchup for me.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. And it's been actually a couple weeks since Aaron Jones actually has been able to do anything because the offensive line isn't blocking very well for him. He gets the ball and he's got nowhere to go, really. I actually don't like this game for Green Bay. I really don't, dude. And Phillip Rivers, God, he just tears Green Bay up every time. I don't know what it is, man. He has these career days, 5 touchdowns and all that. So I'm very worried for Green Bay. I don't think it's going to go very well. I honestly don't.
Indianapolis, I was talking about this in the fantasy football stuff, the Fantasy Football Almanac show. If you're interested, check those out. But David and I were talking about Indianapolis, and over the course of the season, Phillip Rivers comes over from, the Chargers, and he's had some experience with Frank Reich. But to start the season, the Chargers, it seemed like they were running the ball a lot while Phillip Rivers was kind of like acclimating. In the last 3 to 4 weeks, Phillip Rivers has been passing more. Nyheim Hines has been more active. I mentioned before, Michael Pittman Jr., my favorite fantasy football ad if you play fantasy football. Brad, you're going to get a good look at him this week. This dude is he's a special type physical talent. Yeah. And with Rivers throwing the ball more, we're going to see him more. I don't like this matchup for Green Bay at all either.
Yeah, and they're underdogs, and they should be.
So Indianapolis defense versus Green Bay offense, those two kind of, to me, neutralize each other a bit. I would still give the edge, actually, to the Indianapolis defense with how elite they are, and Green Bay having some issues as of late. But then you look at Green Bay defensively versus Indianapolis offensively. Indianapolis's offense has been getting better every week. It seems like Green Bay's defense is getting a little bit worse every week.
Oh man, they're so terrible. They're underperforming. They're not that bad. They haven't bought in, like I mentioned before. It's not a unit that believes in themselves, and they tackle like crap is the word, man. Yeah. It's pathetic, and I don't know when that started, but they got to figure that out. And I don't know if that's fixable. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a lack of leadership.
It's something. It is something.
It's something. They've caught some nasty virus or something that they need to work their way through. But it's definitely a detriment to the team.
What I'll say is, bettors fall into the trap. And I mean, not like, us where we're kind of keeping season-long track of it. But, people are kind of fair weather bettors. They'll go in and maybe Sunday morning they'll put some money on stuff and just feel – they're all kind of bound to the first quarter of the season. Now, the Packers, everything broke right for the Packers in the first quarter of the season. We talked about this a little bit at the start of the podcast. The Indianapolis Colts, what did we get in the first part of the season? The first game, they lost at Jacksonville. And you're like, what? Mm-hmm. And I watched that game, and Indianapolis outplayed Jacksonville, and they managed to lose in Phillip Rivers' first game. And then the season plots along. Same thing happened with New Orleans. New Orleans, they win against Tampa Bay. Next week, they lose on Monday Night Football on national TV to the Raiders, and everybody's like, the Raiders? Me and you, Brad, we like the Raiders. Everybody else thinks the Raiders garbage. By the way, they're 6-3, right?
Right.
They're pretty good.
Right.
That's not a bad loss in retrospect. And then you look at the Saints, you pop up, and they only have 2 losses. You're like, whoa, okay. So, I think people are a little bit higher on Green Bay and a little bit lower on Indianapolis based on the first quarter of the season. But the second quarter of the season, Indianapolis has been way better. Way better.
Man, this is the second year in a row where Green Bay has a fantastic record, 8-9 games in, and you go, right?
They don't have it.
It's not quite there. But the thing about Green Bay is they have a really high ceiling.
They do.
Right?
Because of Rodgers. You're right.
Because of Rodgers. And it's their ceiling when they're firing on all cylinders is maybe as good as it gets, next to Kansas City, right? But if it's not there, they have a really low and average look to them.
I think in terms of ceiling in the NFC, And that's why this playoffs is going to be wide open in the NFC. It really,
Sure.
I think it could be
Anyone can get there.
one of 7 teams could really get in, and it wouldn't shock me. I think that honestly, I think Arizona's playing the best football right now. I would have said New Orleans, but Breeze is out, so we'll see. New Orleans, they're going to be a factor once the playoffs start. I think ceiling-wise, Tampa Bay has the best ceiling, but they have certain matchups like the Saints that they're brutal against. Green Bay is very much the same. I don't think Green Bay could match up well against Tampa Bay if they play again.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But that's the problem with Green Bay, right? If they face a team that they match up against well, which is most teams,
they'll blow the doors off.
Yeah, and you're not coming out of there with a win. They're going to be all over you, and it's not happening. But like we just said, if they go up against Tampa and they get a punch in the mouth and turn it over early, like, oh boy, watch out. And I don't know what that is. Maybe they are a finesse team, if there is such a thing, and that's how they need to win. That's possible. But yes, the NFC is definitely wide open because of Tampa Bay's balance.
Yeah.
And their leadership at quarterback. They have a sturdy feel to them.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Green Bay feels very shaky.
Yep.
And so at this point, I would give the nod to Tampa as the favorite.
If the playoffs were to start today, I would have a hard time arguing against that. I would say that Arizona is playing such great football, but I just don't know about the leadership on the field. I don't know yet. I'm not saying they don't have it.
Right,
I just don't know. So, and if Arizona pulls off that, a win on Thursday Night Football, that's a step towards that leadership, taking real control. So we'll see. But back to the Green Bay, Indianapolis. Bovada has the line Green Bay plus 1.5 on the road versus Indianapolis. Who do you got?
Oh man, obviously I'm not going to bet it, but I would take Indy. I really would. I don't like this week for them. Not at all.
I love this matchup for Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Only 1.5, so a field goal will cover the spread here. I'll take Indianapolis. I like the way they match up against the Packers. So we'll see. Character week for Green Bay. Indianapolis, they win. I mean, Tennessee's got Baltimore. I mean, that they could end up taking control, like real control of that division. Tennessee and Indianapolis do play in a couple weeks. We got next game on the list here.